Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Andrea Simintov, and you are listening to Pull Up a Chair on Israel News Talk Radio.com. Okay, organizing. 2020 is coming to a close, and we're still working from our homes. So I'm stepping over the crumpled up tissues and coffee cups, and we are here together. Let me say good morning. Beautiful listening in list. The chat room is open. By the way, go into the chat room and let me know where you're listening in from, and let me know what's going on in your life. Thank you for spending this morning with me. Good morning, good night in the U.S. and Canada. Boker Tov, Eretz Israel. Good early morning in the UK, Germany, Switzerland is listening in. Hey, it's almost New Year's Eve in Australia. Who's listening in? France, Brazil, and I am particularly excited to see this morning we have listeners in from the United Republic of Tanzania. I happen to know a little bit about Tanzania. My ex-husband actually had an office there. And talk to me privately. I'll tell you what we did. Yeah. So welcome to all of you as we close out the Gregorian year, the year 2020. Our children will say, "Hey, Ma, did you live through 2020? Yeah, I did. But anyway, today is a day for smiling. Today is a day, came across a great quote. You've heard it before. Actually, we're going to talk about Sir Anthony Hopkins a little bit. You know what I think about actors, really, bottom feeders. Nevertheless, I am a big Anthony Hopkins fan, and I found a lovely article about him. And one of the things he says it's corny, but today is the tomorrow that you feared yesterday. And indeed, it is so true. And our days of hand-wringing, bemoaning, shocking, what new news will come out of the Center for Disease Control? What's going on in Wuhan? What's going on in the United Arab Emirates and in Spain and Italy? It is a year to have ended all years, but we're going to take a look at it. And was it really that terrible? And indeed, are we going to waste as much time in fear? My name is Andrea Simintov, and guess what? I'll speak with you on the other side.
How did a nice Jewish girl from Delaware end up living in Israel? Shalom, I'm Natalie Sapinski. Join me on my show, Returning Home. Meet different people who have moved to Israel. Hear their personal stories, their highs, their lows, and everything in between. Each week, we talk to experts on immigration and the process of moving to Israel. Listen to Returning Home every Thursday, only on Israel News Talk Radio.
Okay, we're back. Andrea Simintov, pull up a chair on Israel News Talk Radio.com. Some business out of the way. If indeed you want to get in touch with me, not so much on the chat room wall, but to drop me a personal note, something in the show concerns you, you want some clarification, let me know on a personal level, something going on in your life. Drop me a note at Andrea at IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Andrea, that's Andrea, at IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. And if I tell a story that you would like to see in its original form, B'simcha, happily, I'll send you the links. Okay. Having a very nice chat with, we have a friend listening in. Now it's a couple of weeks already, listening to my new friend from Tehran. And I can't even begin to tell you what an honor it is to have all of you listening in. It's like I get together with my friends on Thursday morning, and I feel a kind of a thread. I could be wrong. I digress. Let me digress a minute. I got a note from I think it was on the wall, on the chat room. It wasn't a personal note from somebody who, when I had begun the show, I think like 2 years ago, was it 2 years already? 2.5, 3, 30, was very, very hard on me. Sort of that American style of chat radio, aggression and challenging. And I was just not ready for it. I don't do aggression very well. I sound like I do. I have that East Coast thing going on, but I don't do aggression all that well. And it was very sweet. Well, I know who it was. I'm not going to say his name. But it was very, very sweet. And he actually wrote me an apology. He said, I apologize for, for how horrible I was to you at the beginning. And yet he said, but he's still listening in. So it's great. Smiling. As I said, I don't really do politics on this show. I don't do politics because there are people on this holy station who do it so much better, with such clarity and such passion and such intellect. And they really do their research and their work. And they give, sometimes I would be lying if I said the views weren't biased, but everything's biased. And if you could read between the lines and listen, follow, leave this station on, IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com, leave your computer buzzing on it all day long, because you will learn, you will grow, you will sometimes take great umbrage and disagree, but hey, we're all here to listen, to respond, and to grow along with you. It is a community effort. All right, so as Tehran reminded me, and I'm reminding all of you, we are in heavy duty lockdown here. Supposedly lockdown. All the stores are closed. Restaurants are not even open for takeout. They're just delivery. It doesn't affect my life very much. But we're in lockdown. The numbers are sky high. Indeed, we are number one in the world. This is the bracha. This is the good part in inoculating our population. Those who are eligible for the vaccine are lining up. And I yesterday went to, even as I'm doing this show, I have my cell phone I'm just looking at it to see if we get a message. We may have breaking news to find out that I had COVID. I had a test yesterday, like my fourth COVID exam. I haven't been feeling that well, but I pray that the news is good, because I'm scheduled to receive my first inoculation today. I know there's a lot of conflict, a lot of dispute. Some people are not doing it. Nevertheless, I will be hopefully getting my inoculation today. Okay, so today's show feels, for some reason, well, I know the reasons. We'll get to them. We'll hit them. But it feels intensely personal. Because I'm a Torah observant Jew, it doesn't mean that I am exempt from the influences of the world around me. I mean, you couldn't do a show like this if you didn't kind of have an eye on an occasional newspaper headline. So I woke up kind of teary this morning. I wake up very early on Thursday mornings in preparation. I pray that God should guide me to bridge our differences, to connect us to one another, to let me be all that I can be as you listen in with your entire hearts, with your entire soul, with your entire being of hope and wanting for you and yourself and your families. And I think I'm waxing emotional because not only am I waiting for a diagnosis from yesterday's coronavirus test, which I have to tell you was very smooth, but I still had to wait in my car. It was a drive-in test. 3 hours I sat in line. And I listened, I must be crazed today because I was listening to podcasts. I listened to true crime podcasts, and these were crimes attributed to like bursts and snapping due to mental illness. All right. So, that'll unnerve anyone. But the other thing is that I had spoken with my 91-year-old mother yesterday, who hasn't been feeling great, and I haven't seen her in, it'll soon be a year. And she told me that the doctor took her off her cholesterol medication. She's on medication for high cholesterol, not super high, but kind of precautionary, a little over. And what the doctor said to her was, I can't really see. She hasn't been feeling well. She's been shaky. because I don't really see the reason to leave a 91-year-old woman on. If you have a little high cholesterol, it's okay. The body is already shutting down. Organs are beginning to sort of like begin their descent. You know how like the pilot says on the airplane, put on your seatbelts, we're beginning our descent. And, we do this on Skype and we're very smiley, but it affected me. And it affected me as I'm thinking that as 2020 is coming to a close, I'm struck not merely by the same horror or unexpected near daily shocks that we receive that can never have been imagined previously, but more so by the amount of time that people wasted this year, this election year, this political year, this BLM year, this George Floyd year, in anger, finger pointing, stewing, hand wringing, rioting this year. The attempts at manipulation, political manipulation, private manipulation, psychological manipulation, in some case displaying the most distasteful public and private behaviors, which will undoubtedly leave immeasurable imprints on children, those small people that all of us are charged with protecting, educating, modeling behaviors that are designed to shape their future selves. Of course, there were outside forces at play, which spanned far beyond the reach of the John Does, the Kilroys, the Plony Almonis among us. I guess each culture has their John Doe, Plony Almoni. No one asked me to sit on any advisory committees for the curing of cancer or AIDS or learning disabilities or COVID. The professionals knew better than to seek my input. So what was I asked to do this year? I was asked to be kind. I was asked to give time, to give money sometimes, to give items to those in need. I was asked to read books to grandchildren, to tell the story of my childhood to some grandchild or step-grandchild who felt misunderstood. I peeled apples for my husband when he was too tired or lazy to peel them himself. I was asked to maintain my health. I'm still working on trying to keep a few more teeth in my head. I was asked to pay my mortgage and to park in a manner that leaves room for neighbors' cars. What was I expected to do this year? I was expected to keep my feet under my paid-for seat on the bus and not plop them on the seat across from me. I was expected to wear a mask and protect myself, my neighbors, people who are still strangers. And so indeed, all of us, anybody who has access to a computer, received the memes, the WhatsApp memes. Oh, they were so funny. They bemoaned 2020. They ran rampant. Some altering, the digit in 2020, one of the digits to mimic a middle finger. You know the one I'm talking about. Jokes about erasing the year from our birth dates. Humor that abounded about broken marriages, obesity, addiction. Yeah, I left. I laughed along with all of them. Ha, 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 because I could afford to laugh. Because in my immediate family, we buried no one. I had heard rumors of a cousin, a nephew, or a friend who had contracted COVID and survived the virus with minimal after effects. Ho, ho, ho! Send me more jokes, indeed. Send in those clouds. And so the clock tick, tick, ticks, and we stand together at the cusp of 2021, and it behooves one to ask, how much time was wasted, and what if the days ahead do not pan out according to some ephemeral plan? Will we remain mired in the bleakness of yesterday? and blame anything and everything outside of ourselves so that we can resist the challenges of growth, change, soaring, and indeed God's intentions of who we can be? How much time, how many days will we allow to pass again and not grab for that brass ring, my friend? The year ahead will have challenges. All of us together. Let's go for it. Let's soar. Let's enjoy his blessed days and the gifts that await from us, that await all of us.
Shalom, everybody. Making a difference often takes just one moment and one person at a time. I am Orly Benny Davis, your show host on Israel News Talk Radios from Jerusalem with Love. You'll be hearing people talking about politics, religion, social issues, and making a better tomorrow. Join me, Orly Benny Davis, for God and Country. From Jerusalem with Love.
Wednesdays on Israel News Talk Radio.
Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Did you know this psalm and many others were composed by a Jewish shepherd and musician who later became a king? Would you like to know some of the inner meanings of psalms to help you connect with God and strengthen your soul? An exciting and easy-to-read book is now available which will help you do just that. Software for the Soul, Psalms for Everyone, available on Kindle, Audible, and Amazon.com. Software for the Soul.
Okay, we're back. We are back. All right. So actually, our stalwart producer here, our engineer, I lost. There was something else I wanted to throw in. I had to kind of cramp up the time. But one of the things as we go, because I may not say it by the end of the show, and I don't want to squander the time. It's so precious, these moments we have together. But again, before we go into like my little newsy part of the show, we do the newsy, we do the diverteur. We have a little pattern going on here. You with it? You following the vibe? Can you hear that I've had my third cup of coffee? Okay, so boys and girls, boy chicks and girl chicks, my Tehran brothers, my Australian sisters, my Tanzanian friends. This is the year. Today is the day. What are your plans? How can we make it different from every other day? Resolutions. We don't believe in New Year resolutions having to do with January 1st. Our new year is a very pensive new year, a very reflective new year, a very there but for the grace of God go I new year. So it has no calendar connections. When one is Jewish, religiously observant, every day is a New Year's Eve as we are handed a fresh canvas every single morning as we say, Moda ani lefanecha. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for this blank canvas. Give me a pen. Give me a paintbrush. I'm going to start painting. But for whoever you are, I beg you, I implore you, that from today, dress beautifully. Comb your hair. Preserve, like me, preserve whatever teeth you have left. Eat according to that which nourishes you. Have relationships that nourish you. Read what nourishes you. Love hard in this year ahead. Let's love a lot. Apologize often, 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 without expecting apologies in return. And as our daily prayers state, make your soul as low as the dust. And this is so that in humility we can make room in our hearts for those who are counting on us. Boy chicks and girl chicks, the year ahead is going to have challenges. Flipping the page tonight or tomorrow morning is not going to do anything other than create a small breeze. There are things that we will individually be unable to fix. But with apologies to Seinfeld, as masters of our own domains, we're all blessed with starring roles, indeed top billing as leaders, emulators, the embodiment of holiness, morality, wisdom, and no less important, humor for those fortunate enough to be included in our respective orbits. I'm going to go for it. I expect no less from you. Okie doke. In the news. Don't try to suck me into an ugly discussion because it ain't going to work. Tuesday night. None of us knew it was happening. None of us, we felt it, we prayed for it, we davened for it. There are those who are concerned about it. Nevertheless, Tuesday night, arriving in Israel, was released spy, I think I can say that, Jonathan Pollard and his wife Esther. And they flew on a private jet from Newark Airport, supplied by Sheldon Adelson. And they landed in Israel. And Jonathan Pollard was a former U.S. Navy analyst, if you have been hiding under a rock for the last 35 years. And he served 30 years in prison for spying for Israel. And he arrived in our country, I guess it was after midnight. And I think there was even a 5-year, was it a 5-year? Correct me if I'm wrong. He was confined to home arrest 5 years after his release from prison. So Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he spoke with Pollard on the phone in November, and he said, you should now have a comfortable life where you can pursue, both of you, your interests. And Esther Pollard is very, very sick, waging a colossal fight against cancer. And we wish everybody who's suffering and waging colossal fights, we wish them all refuah shlema. They should have complete recoveries. And we are not judges, we are not juries, and we wish the Pollards peace in their new home. Okay, what a surprise. Anti-Semites have blamed Jews for COVID. I don't even know, people, they write to me, they go, oh, Andrea, what are we going to do? There was a swastika was drawn on a shul. Oh, Andrea, they're marching on campus, the BDS movement. What is it? I want to say bisect, divide, and, But anyway, it's called is. Anti-Semitism is. And stop wringing your hands. Just live your best lives. Be the embodiment of all that truth, all that honor, all of his glory, and you have nothing to worry about. I saw a really ugly anti-Semitic cartoon where, of course, the character drawing of the hook-nosed, beady-eyed, ear, what do they call them? Earlocks? Is that what you say? Peyot? Earlock. I think that's the word, earlock-wearing Jew inside the Trojan horse, about to unleash all that ugliness on the world. And it was called COVID. You know what? Let's see, they give a list of number two. See, the first spot. Anyway, this is all brought down by the Simon Wiesenthal Center. I have the link to the site, which outlines again the list of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that we indeed have unleashed COVID on the world. I'm going to just toss in a little bit of, it's not really the time, but I have to just toss in this little bit of Torah because it's not part of the Devar Torah, but I love this. I just love this. According to Rabbi, this is Lahavdil, we finished with the anti-Semitism for the day. Finished. Okay. Rabbi Tzvi Elimelech of Dinov, I guess that was probably Russo, Poland, in the book, A Touch of Wisdom, see if you can get it online. He asks the question, why didn't our sages institute the reciting of a blessing, a bracha, before the giving of tzedakah, crummy translation of charity. Just as they instituted blessings before many of the commandments. I can't eat a piece of bread, a fruit. I can't wake up in the morning and, do anything without saying my blessings. But why not tzedakah? We're commanded to give tzedakah. And the answer is that if giving tzedakah would have required a blessing in advance, the possibility exists that the poor would suffer even more greatly and even die of hunger. A poor man would come along and ask for help. And the person, the righteous individual who had been asked, would first go and wash his hands before the blessing. Maybe he would actually go to the ritual bath to cleanse himself, to be in a holier state upon which to bestow goodness to somebody else. He would then pronounce the blessing, and by that time, undue suffering would have occurred. I think about this today because as we're going into this new year, I'm thinking when we're going to do stuff, let's not agonize over it. If we're going to eat healthily, don't eat all the junk in your house and then say, I'll start on Monday. Health is there. It's waiting for us now. Kindness is waiting for us now. We don't want to be kind after Shabbos. We want to be kind with our next breath. We want to be holy. We want to make matches between men and women and make more holy weddings in our communities now, not when we get better with it. And when it comes to giving and being righteous in what we do, now, okay? Don't need a blessing to make a match. All right, quality of life index. This is like the humor of the week. Quality of life index came out, and Jerusalem ranked in Israel, quality of life. Jerusalem, where I live and I love, ranked the worst, the lowest on the quality of life totem pole. Apparently, Kfar Saba leads. Kfar Saba, Ramat Gan, and Rehovot lead the quality of life of large cities. Jerusalem, Bat Yam, and Ashdod were the lowest ranked city. I mentioned this to my husband. He didn't even blink. The employment rate dropped. I don't know if it's national. Anyway, it's a very interesting article. I was in Kfar Saba once, and just to let you know what an idiot your host is. But this was before I was enlightened. I said to I was with a business partner, and it was the first time, I was like 15 years in Israel, and I was in Kfar Saba. It was very nice. I was in a shopping center. I was actually getting a free massage to write about it in a weird machine. Looked like sort of like an airship coffin. But anyway, I was getting this massage, and I walked out and I said to my business partner, why do people live here? This is like when you talk about the xenophobia of living in Jerusalem. I said, are they living here because they can't afford Jerusalem? To which my friend said to me, Andrea, you might find this hard to believe, that there's people who actually don't want to live in Jerusalem. And it took me about 20 years to compute that. Really? There's people who don't want to, according to this, there's people who do not want to live in Jerusalem. Okay, my name is Andrea Simonjov, and guess what? When we come back, a lot of Torah. See you on the other side.
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
This is Shai Ben-Tekoa, and each week I'll be webcasting to you from Judea, origin of the word Jew, a people besieged and beleaguered in every generation. Nazi Germany's but a memory, but in its place the world invented the phantom Palestinians as this generation's internationally authorized Jew killers. Tune in for a different slant on life in Israel, Phantom Nation, every Monday.
Hi, I'm Rabbi David Aaron. The soul basics are the most profound, the most essential, and yet often the most neglected in our education. Join me for Soul Talk on Israel's News Talk Radio and discover the secrets to love, spiritual growth, and personal power.
Okay, we're back. Andrea Simintov, pull up a chair on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. I'm sorry, we're supposed to be like Hevelina. And so I was just having a conversation with, so it's, the engineer was reminding me, and he's right. I mean, Jerusalem is, for many, a very anxious city. But I guess that some, your own space. And I never realized until I went out. I have, relatives living in living in Beit El, beautiful Beit El, and we have family living in Beit Shemesh. We drive the back roads down through Gush Etzion to Beit Shemesh. I've been to Yad Binyamin, just beautiful. I live in Jerusalem. And streets are always closed off here. The construction, the building. I live between these two Arab villages, and you see the police sirens going past. And I'm thinking, and even the names of our streets here, I can't give you, we have the streets, it doesn't matter. I mean, the names we have, I live in a neighborhood called, Armon Hanatziv, which means the palace of the governor. And this refers to the Turkish governor when we were under rule. Olay Hagardom, the gallows. We have streets named after days that, days that we were under siege by enemy armies. And nobody here lives on a street called, Rolling Brook Road. No, we live on, Revenge for the Martyrs Avenue and Highway. I guess it gets a little bit sobering. Okay, part of this week's Torah is I come across one of my favorite people on earth is Sir Anthony Hopkins, and I forgive him for being an actor. So apparently this week he marked 45 years of sobriety after nearly drinking himself to death. And why does that have to do with my show? Well, I'll tell you, since you're asking. Because it's all about renewal. It's all about change. And he actually gave me the title for the show. He even admitted that it was corny that somebody, said to him, I think it was Dale Carnegie or Wolfgang von Goethe, who said, today is the tomorrow you were so worried about yesterday. He said, that's what keeps him going. And his words to young people, even today, after, I think, how old is he? 80, 85, something like that. Says, you young people, don't give up. Just keep in there. Just keep fighting. Be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid. That is what has sustained him for his life. And he's been a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, I think, since 1975. And I'm a big 12-step fan. And he said that it was a woman who he didn't know, and she met him, I think, on a plane. I don't even know. I made that part up. And she said to him, why don't you just trust in God? And after that, the urge to drink never returned. I like that a lot. And I like when I get to Torah, especially from unexpected sources. Okay. So in today, we're talking a little bit about the death of Yaakov, and we're talking about the brothers. And before we actually, this is again another non sequitur in the Devar Torah, but one of the things that's very important to take away, something that we can put in our little Shabbos pockets, our apron pockets, as we're preparing our individual Sabbaths, is to remember that Yaakov showered preferential treatment upon his younger son, Yosef. We all know the story about the brothers. Yosef came out very young, 17 years old, a little bit braggadocio kazeh, and he made his other brothers envious of him to the point that they considered taking his life. And Yaakov, again, shows great affection to his younger grandson, Ephraim, over his brother, Menashe. But this time, there was no sign of ugly, pitting brother against brother. Says Rabbi Avraham Twersky, he should just live and be well and enjoy many more years of robust health. In his Sefer, his book, Living Each Week, Rabbi Twersky says, we have no way of knowing why some people have lives that are more comfortable while others are subjected to severe distress. We have the option of being envious or of accepting divine judgment as just and proper and adjusting to what we have so that we can enjoy it. Indeed, that is the message for a happy Thursday and a happily ever after. Okay, flipping the pages. I'm trying to think, do I have time to tell a joke? I think I do. I'm going to tell a fast joke. I think it was, okay, where's the heater here? Oh, it's cold here. All right, so very fast joke. Engineer, how much time do I have so I get my Devar Torah and my joke? So I think I saw this on an Aish HaTorah website, and this is the year, my friends. Go into orsameach.com, go into TorahAnytime.com, go into Aish.com, okay? Learn, go into Na'aleh. They're all wonderful, wonderful. If you need guidance as to where you can learn and grow in Torah, particular for your needs, drop me a note, Andrea at IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com, and I will happily give you some of my suggestions. Okay, so I think I saw this on the Aish website, and a rabbi goes over to a young man, not so young, he's like 45 years old, and he's not married, and he says, hey, what's with you? You're not married already. And he says, I want to get married, but I haven't found the right girl. He goes, what do you mean you haven't found the right girl? You've never fallen in love? He goes, well, I've fallen in love. I'm speaking fast because we do want to get to Devar Torah. I fall in love with several girls. And I've been ready to pop the question, but in all of the cases, my mother hates them. He says she can't stand them. And so the rabbi says, well, why don't you ask your mother to find you the girl? He goes, do you love your mother? I love my mother. Would you like to marry a girl with him? You like your mother? I'd love to marry a girl just like my mother. Okay, let your mother find the girl. So the mother goes. 6 months later, the rabbi comes back and he says, so, no, did you find a girl? He says, I found the perfect girl. She's exactly like my mother. She cooks like my mother. She has my mother's sense of humor. She's kind like my mother. She's good like my mother. She's religious like my mother. He goes, so why won't you marry her? He said, I'll tell you the truth. My father hates her. Stick a dish. Okay. Little New Year humor. So here we go. Parsha Vayechi. The last 17 years of the lifetime of our father Yaakov are, I guess you can say they were the best years of his long and really sad-filled life. When appearing before Paro in Egypt, remember at the beginning, he freely admits that the first 130 years of his life were sparse. They were difficult. He experienced a lifetime of troubles and travails from the moment he was by indeed holding on to the heel of his brother Esav. And so he and his brother will contend in their lives for the blessings of their father and for immortality, to help found eternal people that will live throughout history against all odds. God knows those of us living in the land of Israel, we see daily that indeed the struggle between Esav and Yaakov unfolding day in and day out. Yaakov will struggle to save his family and his positions from the wiles of Lavan and his sons. Laban is, I guess, how you say it in English. He'll wrestle with an angel. He'll be tested. He'll be wounded. He'll prevail. Eventually, he'll receive the blessings of that angel, which will be encapsulated in the name of Yisrael. Yaakov, he'll suffer indignity and trauma of his daughter Dinah being raped by Shechem. And yet, he'll disapprove of that revenge that his sons visited upon that community. His beloved wife, Rachel, shall die in childbirth, and Yaakov will probably never recover from that blow. He seeks peace of mind and body. His description of his life and the events as he stands before Paro is accurate. It might even be understated. So it's not a wonder that in his final years of his life, they're called the years that he actually lived. He's reunited with his beloved son Yosef. But Yaakov is aware that the rosy picture of Jewish life in Egypt, it's temporary. It's a mirage. It's an illusion that will fade, and the years of hardship and bondage, they're already on the horizon. God reveals to Yaakov's grandfather Avraham generations earlier that the bill is going to come due. God promises Yaakov that future troubles will not be seen by him in his lifetime. Nevertheless, there's no doubt that Yaakov is troubled by a darkened future of his people, a future that he's actually aware of. There's a message in here, my friends, for all of us who place our faith in man. I beg all of us to listen to the rumblings, the warnings of our beloved Torah. And yet, when Yaakov is speaking in his final words to the Jewish people, there's no pessimism. He and Yosef reassure the generations to come that Hashem is somehow with them, that God will redeem them from all of their troubles and fashion them into the most eternal and influential people in the face of the globe. It's this faith in the future, the faith that goodwill will prevail, that it's the most important legacy that our father Yaakov leaves to us. It's this belief and attitude that marks who Jews are and the people of Israel remain. And it guarantees us our continuity and indeed our overcoming and our success against travail. My friends, healing is messy, but there are no deadlines. I wish all of you a Shabbat Shalom u'mivorach and Happy New Year.
Israel News Talk Radio's chat room. Just click the orange button at the top of the IsraelNewsTalkRadio.home page, log in as yourself or an anonymous guest, and join in on the fun. You'll meet other listeners from all over the world who listen to Israel News Talk Radio, and you can make new friends. Israel News Talk Radio's chat room. It's the closest you can get to being in the studio with us.
We love listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Where can you get the inside news on Israel? At Israel News Talk Radio, we're dedicated to sharing Israel's inside story with the world by providing our listeners with news on Israeli politics, current affairs, and Israeli Jewish culture. The Israel News Talk Radio homepage also provides you, the listener, with useful information at your fingertips, with scrolling news headlines, weather, currency exchange, Shabbat candlelighting times, and so much more. Our radio programming is always accessible and on demand. We operate absolutely free of charge for everyone, everywhere. If you love what we do, partner with us now by becoming an Israel News Talk Radio supporter. With your support, you'll be inscribed on our Israel News Talk Radio Wall of Fame. There's nothing like us in the world. Be part of something great. Israel News Talk Radio. Straight talk from Israel.
If you love Israel News Talk Radio, then you'll love our Facebook page. We keep you up to date on what's happening in Israel, plus little surprise treasures that we don't share on the radio. Go now to follow us on Facebook. Just look for the Israel News Talk Radio Facebook page, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us by clicking on the like button. We post great stuff there that you'll want to share. Israel News Talk Radio on Facebook and Israel News Radio on Twitter.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.